This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. Since I hope everyone is here and we have a lot to cover, we really should begin today's virtual conference. I really appreciate you all for attending today's virtual conference. A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to one and all present here virtually with me today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Clara McBroom, Conference Secretariat at Coalesce Research Group LLC, and I will be available for any of your queries or questions throughout the webinar to help you out technically and organize the webinar successfully. For the next 5 minutes, please allow me to give a brief description about our organization, Coalesce, and also the further instructions. Coalesce Group LLC is very delighted to welcome you all for the speaker supporting association students and delegates present here virtually meeting today. With the aim mark the scientific excellence by felicitation, conversation, sharing knowledge, Coalesce Research Group follows to the objective of setting standards in delivering excellence in the research among the researchers and industries. Promulgating the research through conducting events and online webinars from various fields of science, especially from the stream of medicine, science, engineering, and technology. Within a short duration, we have succeeded in creating a platform for developing a strong professional network with the people across the world from their respective fields that they haven't connected in a while. As a global scientific event organizer, we plan and carry out international conferences, meetings, symposium, and workshop providing the best delegate experience, excellent networking opportunity, conversation leading to innovations and learning new opportunities. Finally, I would like to thank all the attendees and participants of today's virtual conference, Energy Tech 2026, and hope you enjoyed the webinar and the join and gain the knowledge from the sessions today. We also hope your participation with contribution to new research findings and with that will lead to new collaborations and research initiatives. Before we start with the sessions, I guess some of you will need to go to Meetings app. Let let me just explain you about the important tools required for the presentation. On the GoToMeetings app or a web page, you can find four icons at the bottom center: mic, camera, screen, and end button. The mic button, click on that to mute or unmute yourself. I request you all to stay muted while speakers are presenting their research work so that it does not cause any disturbance to them. The camera button, you can use this button to share the or unshare the web camera. If I, this is the main point. Uh, if you have the option to share the web camera, you can do it, or it is completely your choice. And third one is the important one. You can use the share button. You can use this button to share your screen. During your presentation, after I call your name from a side, I will be making you as a presenter and will give you permission to share your screen. Then only you are able to share your screen. So per iOS user, you have to give the permission in your settings app for the GoToMeetings app to share your screen. So once I make you as a presenter, you can click on the screen button and you will find a pop-up window to share your screen. The last one is the end button. This is your fourth icon where you can use this to lead the session. On the top center, you can use the options to change your display settings. In the top right corner, you have three icons: people, chat, and settings. In the chat option, you can chat with me or any other participant for any queries. For the settings, you can use this button to check for the settings of your speakers and microphone. So as I mentioned, kindly remain muted during the presentation so that the presenter does not get disturbed. And for any questions, you can ask the questions or you can send your questions in the meeting box too. Well, let's not take much of your time. Finally, I would like to request you to please give us a brief introduction about yourself before starting with the session so that we can know about you virtually. Now, move on to the session. The first keynote presentation is from Dr. Jae-in Jung from Jeju National University, South Korea. Hello, Dr. Jung. Are you ready with your presentation? Hello, Dr. Jung. Hello, Dr. Jung. Can you please switch on your mic button? Hello, Dr. Jung. Hello, Dr. Jung. Please unmute yourself. Hello, Dr. Jung. We are unable to hear your voice. Can you please unmute yourself? Can you please check your microphone settings? On the top right corner, you have a settings option. We are unable to hear your voice. In the top right corner, you have a settings option. I have made you as a presenter. Can you please share your screen? I'll guide you for the settings option. Have you received any pop-up window to share your screen? Please click on the entire screen to give the permission to share your screen, please. Hello. Yes, Dr. Zhang, we are unable to hear your voice. Hello. 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 Hello, Dr. Zhang. Hello. I'm audible to you, Doctor. Can you please unmute yourself? Hello everyone, let's wait few more minutes. So we are facing with a technical issue from Dr. Jiang and we'll resolve and get back to you. Thanks for your patience. Your microphone is enabled. Can you click on the mic?
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I
Dr.
yeah,
Jiang.
okay. So I didn't know how to access
Yeah.
uh,
No
your
issue, Dr.
system. So now
Jiang.
I got my microphone. All right.
Okay, no issue. We can proceed with your presentation. Let's start the
Yeah.
presentation.
All right.
I have made you as a presenter. Kindly click on the share button to share your screen, please.
How? Okay. Then I
The
can get
mic in the bottom center, you have
yeah,
mic, camera, share. Click on share.
yeah, yeah. Share, but this
Yes.
is yeah.
You will get a
Share.
pop-up window. In that, select the entire screen
Uh,
for sharing.
Wait. However, the bottom of share does not work. When I click the share button, I got the message, please select.
Yes, in that, select
Yeah,
entire screen. The third option,
third option, wait.
entire screen, you have window. Yes, your can you please open your PowerPoint
Ah,
presentation?
okay. Yeah. Did you get my slide?
No, you have selected only window. In
Oh,
that, select entire
okay.
screen. Kindly
Wait.
unshare and reshare again. Stop sharing and reshare again.
Wait. Uh,
Can you stop sharing?
Stop.
Stop
Wait.
sharing and reshare again. Once stop sharing, please.
Wait.
Once
I will be back again. I would like. Oh, okay.
once stop sharing and reshare again in the pop-up window. Okay, once
Now I share.
yes, click on share. You'll get a pop-up window. In that, you will get the option window,
No.
application, or entire screen. In that, choose entire screen. Select entire screen while sharing.
Share screen.
And entire screen in the pop-up window, you'll get entire screen.
No, I cannot access the selling. Uh, okay, would you please to skip me? I cannot access properly.
Just I have sent you an image in your WhatsApp. Can you please
Mhm.
in that select entire screen? In the screen and the application, you have got an entire screen in first option. And click share.
I'm trying, but
Or can you meanwhile? Yes, perfect, perfect. Can you please open your PowerPoint presentation?
mm,
Now open, just minimize the window, minimize this window and open the PowerPoint presentation. Yes, you can open your PowerPoint presentation.
did you get my slide?
Yes, we have got your slide. Can you start?
Okay. Oh, now
Yeah,
it's
it's
beautiful.
perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah,
You can start your presentation now. You can make it in a
yeah.
PowerPoint
Okay.
presentation mode and start your presentation.
All right, thank you. I'm very sorry for making you delay.
Can you
Because,
make it a full screen mode in a slide mode in
yeah,
the top
all right. Can
right
you hear
shade
me?
mode?
Can
Yes,
you hear
yes,
me? Yeah, okay. Then may I start my presentation?
yes. You can
Uh,
start your presentation.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for inviting me as a speaker at this conference. I'm very honored to be um, a speaker at this conference. So my name is Daeyeon Jung from South Korea. My major is environmental sociology. Maybe some scholars would not be familiar with the terminology environmental sociology. So the environmental sociology is a research on environment from social science side perspective. So today, the topics I would like to present is the concept and the implications of low carbon green growth. Yeah, I think the low carbon green growth may be familiar terminologies in relation to climate change. So in social science, many scholars has tried to establish a framework for achieving socio-economic development against the climate change. So the terminology has been suggested as low carbon green growth. Okay, this is a small map. South Korea and Japan. South between the South Korea and Japan, there is a small island, Jeju. I am from here. So the whole outline of my presentation is composed of six parts. The first of all, in order to understand what the low carbon, what the green growth, in order to understand them, we need to have a look at what has happened to nature since the industrial evolution in the 18th century. And then we can examine why low carbon is important. As I have said here before, this is related to climate change. In other words, in order to promote socio-economic development, as we have done from the 300 years ago, then we have to overcome some environmental problems, particularly climate change. All right. So why we can identify why low carbon is important. Therefore, I would like to explain what is low carbon and then what is green growth. So, low carbon green growth is a combined terminologies, low carbon and green growth. Then we can draw the implications of low carbon green growth from the individual conceptual definition and the conceptual implications of low carbon and green growth. Then, if we combine together, we can draw the whole implications of low carbon green growth. Then, finally, the concluding remark. The, however, the only 30 minutes is given to me, so I do not have enough time to explain all of them. So please let me try. Why does low carbon matters in relation to climate change from the part two? Okay. Mm. Yeah. Okay. Then part two. Why does low carbon matter? This is composed of at least four sectors. First of all, we have some debate on climate change. We need to review what debaters and the definition of climate change and impact of climate change. Finally, United Nations point of view on climate change because United Nations, particularly UN FCCC, is the major agent to establish the strategies against climate change. Then United Nations strategy, all countries follows the United Nations climate change strategy. Therefore, we need to have a look at the main point of United Nations on climate change. Okay, in first one, climate change, there are two categories of scholars about the climate change. One group, they argue climate change is a real reality. However, another group, climate change is very uncertain in terms of its evidence. So we call the real reality, we call those scholars as the mainstream, and the scholars who argue climate change is uncertain, we call them the anti anti-stream. And again, we have also had debate on the cause of climate change. One group argues the natural factor. The other one is human in the emission of human-induced greenhouse gas. Okay, two groups of scholars. Uh, then this is a definition of climate change. Weather is, we have two similar, however different terminologies, weather and climate. Weather is defined as a state of the atmosphere at a given time and place with respect to variables such as temperature, moisture, wind, like that. So weather is its conceptual unit day to day. However, climate change is a long-term prevalent weather conditions at least a time interval of at least 10 years. In other words, averaged weather condition. Then the categories of weather can be classified tropical, temperature, humid, like that. Therefore, based on the long-term point of view on weather, the climate uh, change is defined. The change in average weather conditions and or in the distribution of weather event in a region. So when we say climate change, the difference climate between timelines usually longer than 10 years. In academic area, however, 30 years is the time interval. Then the impact, I think all of us knows the on nature, the impact on human and society. We have so many individual impacts from climate change. Then United Nations point of view on climate change is like the cause. We have two categories of scholars. One group, they emphasize the natural factor. The other one emphasize the human-induced factor, but United Nations point of view is the cause of climate change 20% from natural factor, 80% from human-induced factor. And also we have the United Nations has defined six materials as the global warming. Then each of them has a different impact on climate change. However, in terms of the total emission, some scholars argue the 66% from CO2. Other groups, 89% from CO2. If 89% from CO2, that is correct, then the remaining five global warming substance, its impact just a total of 2%, all right? But, and also United Nations here, the responsibility. Who has the responsibility for climate change? As we know, climate change has been started from the 300 years ago when we started promoting industrialization. It was accumulated. However, it was very, very minor, so we couldn't identify what is happening to the environment. However, now we could identify it. So most developed country, they have the responsibility 80%. The developed and the developing country 20%. So at least 10% of current emission should be reduced. The current emission at global level, United Nations estimated 40 billion tons. 10% should be reduced. So United Nations approach to the climate change is distinguished by three stages. The first stage, United Nations just started low carbon strategy. Then, now as we know, carbon neutral. Yeah. Then in the future, carbon free. Then finally, we can reach climate neutrality. Neutrality. Okay, then what is a low carbon? Low carbon, we have the different terminology, however, very closely interrelated. Low carbon, carbon neutral, carbon free. Okay, then this is very complicated definition. However, in a word, low carbon is just reducing by 10% or 20% like that. But we do not have any answer about why 20%, why 10%, just below 20%. Then, if we are successful low carbon strategy, for example, reducing by 10%, then what will happen to the current climate change? Climate change will continue even though we reduce 20% or 10%. However, the climate change lasts very slowly than before. So low carbon strategy, its effectiveness is just reduce the current state of climate change. However, cannot solve entirely the current climate change. Then carbon neutral. This is, as we know, even though if we have emit 100 ton, then if we remove as much as carbon from atmosphere as we put in, then we can achieve net zero emission of carbon. In other words, carbon neutrality is defined. We remove as much as we emit, then no more additional human-induced carbon can be entered into the atmosphere. Then the effectiveness of carbon neutral is current state of climate change lasts. However, climate change does not get worse. Then the carbon free. This is more effective because carbon free is defined. We remove it's more than we emit. Then the concentration of the carbon in current atmosphere will be reduced. Then we can reach automatically to the climate status as we have enjoyed in agricultural society. 300 years ago. Okay, then the approach to low carbon, carbon free or carbon neutral overall direction can be classified into four categories. One is minimizing the level of dependence on fossil energy use using the sources of renewable energy, maximizing energy sequestration of carbon emitted like that. Then such a strategy can be applied to land use, energy, ecology, construction, so many sectors. So those can be called the sectors to be included in relation to energy use. And the major direction of low carbon is summarized as four categories: minimizing the level of dependence of energy using like that. Then next is what's the green growth? The terminology and the definition of green growth has been suggested by OECD. After that, UN, UNESCAP, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. So I will introduce those two, what definition implication were suggested by those two organizations. First of all, the OECD. OECD used the terminology green growth. They emphasized the necessity of green growth as a strategy, securing environmental sustainability and overcoming the recent economic crisis. So they set up the goal of green growth, preparing a new and clean growth engine through supporting green industry, green technology, and green job like that. Then major strategy suggested by OECD for achieving the green growth. The first one is abolishing financial subsidy for harmful activity on environmental introduction of environmental tax like that. Some are recommended sector, some are compulsory sectors. So OECD emphasized two approaches: recommendation, voluntary, and compulsory regulation. And compared to the OECD, UNICEF, very close and similar, however, a little bit different. They used the terminology green growth in 2005. Again, this organization changed to low carbon green growth in 2012. Then UNESCAP proposed five, five promotion strategies as the roadmap for particularly for the Asia and the specific areas, because Asia and the specific Pacific areas have different way of industrialization. Okay. So the first strategy suggested by UNICEF was improving quality of growth and maximizing net growth. So this is explained detailed like that, minimizing ecological and economic loss through shifting the paradigm from this to that, and also to growth paradigm with the goal of resource protection, economic resilience, social inclusiveness, and ecological sustainability, and so on. Uh, then the second argument was changing the invisible structure of the economy. This means that the current socio-economic system should be transformed to a new system. For example, reform of the legal and institutional framework for setting conditions enabling low carbon green growth like that. The third argument was changing the visual structure of the economy. For example, shift of urban plan and the design to the development of eco-city. Eco-city means more environmental friendly development like that. And the fourth was turning green into the business opportunity. This means in order to recover the current polluted or destroyed ecosystem, then that we should invest a lot of money. However, that will be a new opportunity to the economic development. So what we have to do, they argued like that. Finally, formulating and implementing low carbon development strategy, very, very important. The important three important things were like that: promoting the harmonization between economic growth and environmental conservation through the introduction of climate action to economic growth, and establishing more integrated, comprehensive, and persistent economic development strategy, economic growth through carbon tax like that. All right, then, based on the concept and implication from OECD and UNSCAP, I think we can draw the implication of low carbon green growth as a synthetic indicators. Then I think the implications uh, can can be described into two categories. One is conceptual implication, the other one is practical implications. So the first of all, conceptual implication, which we can draw from the OECD and UNSCAP. Low carbon green growth is low carbon plus green growth. Two terminology, two concepts are combined as a word. So low carbon is an issue originated from climate change. Green growth include partially the issues on climate change. Low carbon green growth then based on promotion of green growth in the context of climate change. This is the conceptual implications. Then we can again draw from the conceptual implications, we can draw some important conceptual component. The first one is a concept increasing economic growth on the basis of green industrialization through the minimalization of carbon emission. Second one is green industrialization is the base of economic growth by creating new market and a strategic growth responding to change in climate and environment through the reduction of carbon emission. And the significant characteristics we can draw from low carbon green growth is promoting economic growth in a way to minimizing the use of energy and resources. The major means to achieve this include restructuralization of industrial structure with a low consumption of energy, saving energy, improvement of energy efficiency like that. And also minimizing environmental pollutions can cover like that. For example, expanding new and renewable energy and creating new growth energy through the investment of green technology, R&D, promotion of green industry, and so on. In this context, finally, low carbon green growth, I think low carbon green growth seeks for sustainable development in terms of ideology, also setting up green technology and clear energy as the link for achieving sustainable development. So in a word, the strategy of green low carbon green growth is based on ecological efficiency. All right, then ecological efficiency can be achieved through those three things. Then we are moving on to the practical implication. All right, environmental pollution caused by economic growth raises various socio-economic costs. So the socio-economic cost is an obstacle to economic growth. Therefore, practical implication for achieving low carbon green growth is sustainable development. I think all of us know what the sustainable development and what strategies are being launched by United Nations and national government or the local government in a country like that. So low carbon green growth is based on the ideology of sustainable development, but with more active strategies than sustainable development in terms of those three things. Okay, then concluding mark. So as we know, even we can draw very, very beautiful and very, very efficient, effective strategies for achieving low carbon green growth. However, all strategies requires a lot of finance. So if a country or the local government in a country, they do not have enough money, they cannot launch any strategies for achieving low carbon green growth. So the all the agent who has responsibility for achieving low carbon green growth, they must increase in their financial capacity. Also, lots of very highly advanced technology is required for launching those strategies. So without the advanced technology, we cannot do anything. So those two things are the major sectors all government should build their capacity for successful low carbon green growth. Then another important thing is government is the major agent establishing the direction and the contents of the low carbon green growth strategies. Then those strategies established by government will have roles, for example, to business enterprise regulation and also have the regulation on citizens in terms of their everyday life. Therefore, without agreement from enterprise or citizens or other social organizations such as NGO, government policy cannot be launched successfully. Therefore, we need the cooperative network with enterprise, citizens, even the mass media. This will be this can be called social consensus. So, without the social consensus, government policies alone is not good enough. So, we need to build the capacity in terms of to draw social consensuses. Then civil organization, mass media, all are the major sectors we government should draw the social consensus. Okay, then we need to introduction of governance system in the process of decision making. It is very popular at the moment. So if we participate the mm, participate the expert or stakeholders in the process of decision making, then this has a function to internalize the conflict in advance. This means those strategies were established on the basis of social consensus from different social organizations. Therefore, it's important as a capacity building. Then current the socio-economic system should be transformed to new one. As we know, current economic system is based on making maximizing the profit with lesser consideration the impact on the ecological cost. Therefore, the current production, distribution, market system should be transformed to low emission of carbon. Citizens' lifestyle also should be changed, and the whole cultural ethos, consumerism, should be transformed to environmentalism. Consumerism is defined as like that. We consume more than we need. That consumerism requires to extract more natural resources. Okay, then environmentalism. This is a way of thinking, lifestyle. We consume as much as we need. So the current cultural ethos also should be transformed from consumerism to environmentalism. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. So, in order to keep the 30 minutes given to me, I skipped many things, just explained, presented the whole outline, major focus. Thank you very much. Any question or comment?
Thank you, Dr. Juan, for your presence and presentation. Does anyone having any queries? Does anyone having any queries?
Okay, if no question or no comment,
I hope there are no queries. Once again, thank you, Dr. Juan, for your presence and presentation.
thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you. Now
Thank
let's move
you.
on to the now let's move on to the next presentation is from Dr. Inish Mehak Jindal from Delhi Technological University, India. So, Dr. Mehak, are you ready with your presentation?
Hello, yes.
Okay, now I'm making as the presenter. Can you click on the screen button to share your screen, please? Yes, your screen is shared. Let's proceed with the presentation now.
Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Ah,
Okay.
Yes, you can start your presentation now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Mehak Jindal, and I'm a PhD scholar from Delhi Technological University. Today, I'm presenting my paper titled Initial Evidence on Rooftop Solar Policy in India, a Difference in Differences Approach. This study evaluates the early impact of the rooftop solar policy across the Indian states using a quasi experimental econometric framework, which is difference in differences approach. A little background of the paper. India's energy demand has been increasing rapidly due to the urbanization and industrial growth, and rising household consumption. So, to meet the commitments and reduce the dependence on the fossil fuels, India has strongly promoted the renewable energy, particularly the solar power. Among various solar initiatives, one of the initiative is PM Suryaghar Muft Bijli Yojana, which is the PM Suryaghar Rooftop Solar Scheme. Uh, this helps it to decentralize the power generation. It reduces the transmission losses. It encourages consumer participation, and There are ambiguous targets. The rooftop solar adoption remains uneven across the Indian states. So, somewhere it's high, somewhere it's low impact. So, this raised question of the policy effectiveness. So, moving on to introduction. The PM Suryaghar scheme is government initiative that provides subsidies and incentives to households for installing the rooftop solar system. Basically aiming for installing the rooftop solar system. It aims to increase the adoption at the residential level. So rooftop solar policy in India, it includes the subsidies, net metering provisions, state specific incentive schemes, and this policy is well defined, uh, but there is limited empirical evidence on whether it has actually increased the rooftop solar capacity. Most of the existing studies are descriptive, and there are few studies which rigorously evaluate the policy impact using the causal econometric method that I'm using. Therefore, this study aims to fill the gap, the research gap, by providing the initial evidence on the rooftop solar scheme in India. So, as I told you, the international literature, they suggest that there is like a different policy instruments like subsidies, net metering, but still, like many studies from China, US, Europe, they highlight the importance of policy framework and financial incentives. So, in Indian context, most studies focus on the technical potential. So this slide basically it shows the steady growth of renewable energy capacity over the years, with solar and wind having the highest contribution. And on the right side, you can see that there is structure, rooftop. It only shows the solar rooftop numbers, which you can see. It is progressing actively, right from 2017-18, and then I have data till 2025 to 2026. This is an overview of how the scheme has been. So this is basically a subsidy structure for the residential households as well as for the group housing societies, which helps to reduce the installation cost. And along with, there is a step by step consumer registration process. So the primary research question is, what is the causal impact of PM Suryaghar rooftop solar scheme on the installed rooftop solar capacity across the Indian states targeted by the policy? The second question is, how do state level factors such as population, per capita income, and power requirement influence the installed rooftop solar capacity and measured effect of the policy? The research objectives are also as follows: to evaluate the impact of solar rooftop policy implementation on the rooftop states, installed rooftop solar capacity in the states. Second is to provide the evidence and to compare the changes in the rooftop solar adoption between the treated and the control states. The third is to examine the state level factors such as the per capita income, population, and power requirement that influence the adoption. Coming to methodology. So, to achieve these objectives, I employ a study design which is difference in differences methodology. So this method basically compares states that have implemented the rooftop solar policy with the states that have not implemented the policy, or the states which have implemented it later on, after the policy has been implemented. In the later years they have taken the initiative. So this method basically allows us to isolate the causal effect of the policy intervention. So in my analysis, I use a state level balanced panel data. um, I have taken data from multiple official sources like the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy or Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, etc. The key outcome variable is installed rooftop solar capacity, and the control variables are uh, economic indicators. This slide basically shows the states that I have picked in the treatment and control group. So I have picked 5 states in the treatment and 5 in the control group. This is the methodology framework, basically the dependent variable, control variables. So before moving to the results, this slide shows the basically the model equation. Uh, so the coefficient beta 3 is the interaction term which represents the true effect of the rooftop solar policy on the installed capacity of the rooftop. So key findings that I have got the so briefly first let me talk about the DID approach. Many of you might not have known about it. So first, DID basically it's difference in differences. So the idea behind DID is to estimate the causal impact of policy. So there are two groups, treatment and control group. So in treatment, we take the states that have implemented the policy. After the implementation of the policy, they have adopted the policy, and the control states are those who have not adopted that policy. So first, as the name suggests, difference in differences. So we take two differences. So first one is we calculate the changes in the outcome variables of the treatment states, and then the difference between the post policy and the pre policy period. So there are two periods. First is post policy, and the second is pre policy, which is before the policy was implemented. And then we calculate the same change for the control states, and then finally we take the difference of both the differences that we have got. And so this is basically difference in differences. So it basically helps us to isolate the effect of policy, and it helps to know that true impact of policy, the true difference that have been there after the policy was implemented in one state, and the basically the gap. So this method is used, it gives valid results. We uh, but there is an assumption. So assumption is parallel trend. So this assumption basically states that before the implementation of the policy, the both curves, or both the treatment and control groups should have parallel trend. So, in this study, I assume that the condition holds true for both the states, and I have checked it. So, what do we actually find? The key findings. I hope you got the glimpse of DID. So, overall, the policy clearly had a positive impact on the renewable energy adoption. The states that implemented the policy had grown faster to those who didn't, and so there is a clear difference. Also, when we tested this statistically using the DID, the effect was significant, which means that it is not just by chance. And what this really tells us is that government support plays a very important role in pushing the renewable energy forward. Coming to the results, so first is the descriptive statistics. We observed that the states that had covered the PM Suryaghar rooftop solar scheme shows a higher average installed rooftop solar capacity compared to the non-treated states, compared to the controlled states. So the treated states also tend to have higher per capita income, population, and power requirement, which were the control variables. So to identify the causal impact, I applied the DID. So the key interaction DID term is which is beta 3, which it captures the additional change in the that had happened due to the policy. So which is 1.675, and it is statistically significant at 1% level, which strongly indicates that the policy had a positive and a robust impact on the rooftop solar adoption. Okay, since the dependent variable is in the log form, so the DID represents the percentage change, not a unit change. So in practical terms, this is roughly a five-fold increase, which is why we state that the treated state experienced approximately 5 times higher growth in the installed rooftop solar capacity after the policy implementation. Talking about the model fit, the model explains a large portion of the variation, which is 0.87%, and the F statistics is also significant at 1% level, confirming that there is a model validity. And control variables were the per capita income and population and power requirement. Per capita income and population are positive and statistically significant, which suggests that the wealthier states and the populous states, they adopt the rooftop solar faster. Power requirement is not statistically significant, which indicates that the adoption is driven more by economic capacity and not by the electricity demand alone, which is the power requirement. So to conclude, the PM Suryaghar rooftop solar scheme has a strong and statistically significant positive impact on the solar rooftop adoption. Uh, the results also suggest that the financial subsidies, like the upfront cost barriers, that reduce the cost barriers, and it encourages households to invest in the rooftop solar system. And states with higher income levels and larger population, they benefit more from the policy. And the final point is the negative post period coefficient, which reflects a short observation window and initial implementation lags. So talking about the contribution, so it basically provides the first empirical evidence on PM Suryaghar rooftop solar scheme. It uses causal inference instead of descriptive analysis. Third is it highlights the role of financial incentives in the solar adoption. And fourth is it shows importance of the state level heterogeneity. Policy implications. The results have several policy implications. The first is that it increases the subsidy access in low performing states, which is the best policy implication that we can incur from the report. The second is strengthen the administrative implementation. Timely subsidies and stable, um, it is important policy learnings, it's very important it focus to focus on equitable solar adoption as well. These are some references. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mehak, for your presence and presentation. Does anyone having any queries?
Thank you.
I hope there are no queries. Once again, thank you, Doctor, for your presence and presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, by this we have has it was unfortunate that some speakers have not turned up today. By this we have come with the end of the one-day virtual conference, and simultaneously we have completed the two-day Energy Tech 2026 in Tokyo, Japan, and successfully. And next year we are going to organize the next edition. We are going to organize in Paris, France, in the month of November 26, 20, in the month of November, and the dates are 16, 17, and the details will be sent to you soon. And also, the presenters today will get the certificate, e-certificate to your mail. Once again, thank you everyone. If you have any queries, you can reach to the program manager, Rachel McField, for any queries. Once again, thank you everyone. Have a nice day.